The day after I returned from the hospital, my in-laws held a family dinner without me. When I asked why I wasn't invited, my sister-in-law said, "We just thought you'd be too tired from all that crying." My father-in-law laughed. "Besides, no one wants a depressed wreck at the table." I didn't cry again. I just waited. And when the moment came, I made sure they'd all feel what it means to be truly alone. I was gone 3 days. 3 days in a cold, white room, hooked to machines while doctors whispered in hallways and nurses tried to avoid my eyes. I lost my son on the first night. It was the kind of pain that doesn't leave you. It carves into you, like wind across stone. I'd carried him for almost 7 months. He had a name. A future. His room had been painted light green, the crib already assembled. My husband, Tyler, had even cried when we first heard the heartbeat. And then, nothing. I came home on a Thursday. The July sun mocked me. The world outside moved on. My house, quiet. Empty. The welcome mat I bought 2 years ago still crooked from the last storm. Tyler wasn't home. He'd said he needed to get out for a bit that morning. I didn't blame him. Grief does strange things. I understood that. At least, I thought I did. Around 6, I realized I was alone. My phone had been off since the hospital, but I turned it back on to check in with someone, anyone. That's when I saw the photos. Facebook. Instagram. Even a damn video on TikTok. A family dinner at his sister Brooke's house. The whole family there. His parents. His brother. Even their weird cousin Adam from Tallahassee. All smiling. Laughing. And Tyler, at the head of the table, carving into a steak like it was Sunday dinner and nothing in the world had changed. I called him. No answer. I texted. Nothing. So I messaged Brooke. Her reply was instant. "We just thought you'd be too tired from all that crying." That's exactly what she wrote. Word for word. Then came a follow-up message not even a minute later. "Besides, no one wants a depressed wreck at the table." I didn't cry. Not then. I think part of me broke in the hospital. Or maybe it was already broken, and I just hadn't noticed yet. I didn't respond. I didn't yell. I didn't post anything or call anyone out. Instead, I sat in the dark of my empty house and made a decision. I would wait. Because when people show you who they are, the best revenge isn't to scream about it. It's to listen. To learn. To plan. I waited. I watched. And when the moment came, I made damn sure every one of them felt what it means to be truly alone. The first week, I kept my head down. Tyler came home late that night, smelling like beer and cologne. Not my cologne. He didn't say where he'd been. He didn't ask how I was doing. He didn't mention the dinner. We slept in the same bed. But we were planets apart. By week 2, I had my plan. And I started with Brooke. She ran a daycare out of her house. Unlicensed. Cash only. Always bragged about keeping it under the radar. I never cared before. But things were different now. I spent a few nights compiling screenshots, videos, even a few Facebook posts where she casually mentioned working with the kids. I packaged it all into a neat little anonymous folder, emailed it straight to the Florida Department of Children and Families. But I didn't stop there. I sent it to her HOA too. And her church. It took 2 weeks. Then one morning, I saw the cars. 2 government vehicles. A third from code enforcement. Brooke's face when she answered the door, I watched from across the street. She never saw me. Her daycare shut down within a week. She cried online about jealous haters and bitter people trying to ruin a mom's hustle. But I didn't reply. I wasn't bitter. I was methodical. Next came my father-in-law, Ron. He worked as a small-town real estate broker in Gulf Breeze. Not a bad guy, at least from the outside. But I knew better. He often bragged about fudging inspections and greasing home inspectors to keep deals moving. So I did some digging. One of his clients, a young couple, Had just bought a house with visible black mold, despite their inspection paperwork saying the home was clean. They'd even posted about it on a local Pensacola Facebook group, warning others. I messaged the couple, anonymously, of course. Gave them just enough info to file a formal complaint. Then I contacted a local reporter. I didn't lie. I just nudged the truth into the light. The story broke 3 weeks later. Broker accused of ignoring mold reports to push sales through. Ron tried to fight it. Called it slander. But when the state licensing board got involved, he went quiet. He retired early. Health issues, he said. No one called him a hero. Not this time. Then I turned to Tyler. This one hurt. Because a small part of me still hoped, still clung to the idea that maybe, just maybe, we could heal. That maybe the version of him I'd fallen in love with would come back. But he didn't. Not when I needed him most. After the funeral. We had a quiet burial for the baby, no one came but my best friend and her husband, he stayed gone. At bars. On the golf course. With friends I'd never met. Then one day, I saw it. A charge on our shared credit card. A hotel. 2 nights. Jacksonville. He'd said he was visiting an old college buddy. But the room had been booked for 2. So I called the hotel, posed as him, and asked if they could email me a receipt. I lost the one I had, I said sweetly. They did. 2 names were on the reservation. His and a woman named Kayla. I found her Instagram in under 5 minutes. 23. Blonde. Dental assistant. In one photo, she was wearing my necklace. That same day, I took all the evidence, hotel receipt, photos, the necklace close-up, and emailed it to my lawyer. I'd already started quietly filing for divorce. Florida laws don't require proof of adultery, but let's just say the documentation helped speed things along. By the end of the month, I had sole ownership of the house. Tyler didn't fight it. Not really. He was too busy spiraling. Turns out, Kayla didn't know he was married. When I messaged her, again, anonymously, I sent a few choice photos from our wedding. One of us kissing under that old oak tree in Tallahassee. She blocked him 2 days later. He showed up at my house that night. Drunk. Angry. Yelling in the driveway. My neighbor called the cops before I had to. He spent the night in a holding cell. We haven't spoken since. As for the rest of the family? They stayed quiet. Real quiet. Brooke's marriage fell apart after her husband found out she'd been lying about money. Ron's brokerage closed 6 months after the scandal. His wife, my mother-in-law, moved back to Georgia. And me? I started over. I sold the house. Moved to St. Augustine. Got a job at a local nonprofit that helps grieving parents. I still think about my son. Every day. That grief never left. But it changed shape. Hardened. Grew edges. I never got an apology. Not once. Not from Tyler. Not from Brooke. Not from Ron. But I didn't need it. Because I watched their lives fall apart, brick by brick. Quietly. Cleanly. They wanted me gone. Broken. Forgotten. Instead, I rebuilt. And they? They learned what it means to be alone. It had been 10 months since I left Gulf Breeze. 10 quiet, strange months in St. Augustine. I had a new apartment by the water. Simple. Clean. I kept it tidy, maybe too tidy. I think something about the chaos from before made me cling to order now. I worked weekdays at a grief support center. It was the kind of job you didn't brag about at parties but meant everything in the quiet hours. Helping other parents, mothers mostly, find their footing after loss. Sometimes, just sitting with them in silence was enough. I didn't talk about Tyler. Or his family. Or what they did. That chapter felt done. Until it wasn't. It started with an envelope. No name. No return address. Just taped to the door of the center one morning. Inside was a photo. A grainy picture of me, taken from across the street. I was standing outside the center, coffee in hand, keys clipped to my belt. Smiling. On the back, someone had written in block letters, "You looked so happy without us." My stomach dropped. At first, I thought it was Tyler. Maybe Ron. But something about the handwriting didn't fit. And the envelope was local. I checked the stamp. St. Augustine postmark. Which meant someone here had sent it. I didn't tell anyone. Not yet. I tried to forget about it. 2 weeks passed. Then I got a call from the front desk, "There's someone here asking for you. Says he's family." I almost hung up. But curiosity got the better of me. It was Brent. Tyler's older brother. The quiet one. The one who always kept to himself at family events, more interested in his phone than small talk. We hadn't spoken in over a year. He looked rough. Unshaven. Thinner. Like he hadn't slept in weeks. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry," he said. I didn't answer. "I didn't know what they said to you," he added. Not until later. I would have come to the hospital if I'd known. I didn't know whether to believe him. Part of me wanted to throw him out. The other part just listened. He sat across from me in the empty group room, staring at the floor. "You know Brooke's in therapy now?" he asked after a long pause. "She doesn't leave the house. Her kid lives with their dad full-time." I didn't care. I said nothing. "She said you ruined everything. That you were never part of the family anyway." I still said nothing. Then he looked up, eyes sunken. "But I know what really happened. I know what they did. All of them. I was there. I heard Dad that night. After the dinner." I stiffened. He said, "She should thank us for not inviting her. We saved her from sitting there like a ghost." He laughed. Thought it was funny. I clenched my hands under the table. "I just needed to tell you that. I know it won't fix anything. But I hated it. What they did. What they became." I let the silence stretch. Finally, I asked, "Why now?" He rubbed his eyes. "Because Ron's dying. Cancer. Liver. And suddenly, everyone's rewriting history. Acting like we're this big, close family. Like they didn't bury you and move on." I took a slow breath. "Did you send the photo?" He blinked. "What photo?" I believed him. So if it wasn't Brent, who the hell was it? That night, I found another envelope. This time under my windshield wiper. Same photo. Same handwriting. New message, "You think you're safe now? You think you're better than us?" Something shifted in my chest. This wasn't guilt. It was anger. Not Tyler's. Not Brooke's. This was someone else. Someone watching. A week later, I filed a police report. They couldn't do much. No threats, no name, but they agreed to keep a patrol nearby. Still, I couldn't sleep. Every shadow outside made me jump. Every knock at the door sent my heart racing. Then one afternoon, a call came to the center's landline. "Is this Morgan?" a man's voice asked. I hesitated. "Who is this?" "You don't know me," he said. "But I know your husband. Or your ex, I guess. Tyler." I gripped the phone tighter. "I'm Kayla's brother." Kayla. The girl from Jacksonville. The one Tyler cheated with. "I just thought you should know," he said. "She tried to kill herself last month. Pills. It was bad." My throat went dry. "She said it started after she found out about you. Said she didn't know he was married. Said he made her believe you were crazy. That you faked the pregnancy." I sat down slowly. "She found your story online. The charity you work for. The obituary you wrote for the baby. She was a wreck." "I'm sorry," I whispered. "She wanted to warn you. She thinks he's dangerous." Obsessed. That he's been driving to St. Augustine some weekends. I froze. She found a journal in his truck. He wrote about watching you. About waiting for the right moment. I couldn't breathe. I thought you should know, he said. I'm not calling again. Then the line went dead. I stood in my office, shaking. My skin felt too tight. My heart pounded in my ears. He was watching me. And I had no idea what he planned next. I didn't go home that night. I packed a small bag, grabbed my laptop and a stack of case files, and drove straight to a cheap hotel on the edge of town. I didn't even leave a note at my place. Something inside me said don't make a pattern he can follow. The room was small, clean, forgettable. That's what I wanted. I turned my phone off. Locked every bolt. Sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the door like it would open at any second. The police still wouldn't do much. I had no restraining order. No proof he was in town. No direct threats. But I knew. I knew him. Tyler wasn't loud or stupid. He was patient. He always waited until no one was looking. Just like back when we were dating, how he used to lie, then twist the story until I was the one apologizing. Back then I thought it was my fault. Now I knew better. The next morning, I drove to the St. Johns County Courthouse. I filed for a restraining order. The clerk was kind but slow. Said it would take a few days to review unless there was an emergency hearing. So I filed for that too. They asked for proof. I handed over the letters. The photo. The report from Kayla's brother, written out as best I could remember. A few emails I'd saved. A copy of our old marriage license. Then I drove to a hardware store and bought cameras. One for the front of my apartment, one for the back. I had a friend install them. I didn't go home. I just waited for alerts. 4 days later, one came in. 2:43 a.m. motion detected. Back patio. I pulled it up on my phone. There he was. Hood up. Standing still. Just watching my back door. He didn't try to break in. He didn't knock. He just stood there for 5 minutes and then walked away. I drove straight to the sheriff's office and showed them the footage. The deputy barely blinked. We'll put in a patrol car to pass by more often, he said like I'd asked about a parking ticket. But I saw something shift in his eyes when I said Tyler's name. Like he'd heard it before. Has he been in trouble? I asked. The deputy didn't answer. That night, I called Brent again. I didn't want to, but I didn't know who else would tell me the truth. He picked up on the second ring. Sounded half asleep. Was Tyler ever arrested before? I asked. Silence. Brent? A sigh. Then, you weren't supposed to know. Know what? He had a sealed charge. From before you met. Dad paid for a lawyer and a fixer. Got it buried. I felt cold all over. What kind of charge? Domestic, he said. An ex-girlfriend. He roughed her up. She dropped the case under pressure. Family hush money. Dad said it was a misunderstanding and not worth ruining his future over. I nearly dropped the phone. Brent kept talking. He's not right. He's never been right. But no one in our family wanted to admit it. I didn't respond. I ended the call. The next day, I sat in my car, staring at my apartment building. My hands trembled. He knew where I lived. He'd been at my door. And the law couldn't stop him. I made a new decision. I wasn't just going to hide. I was going to end this. I started by calling Kayla's brother again. He didn't pick up. So I wrote a letter, simple, direct, and mailed it to the return address on the envelope from the call center they used. 3 days later, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. Meet me. Sunset Cafe. Back patio. Come alone. I didn't trust it. But I went. He was there. Broad shoulders. Quiet voice. Wore a hat pulled low and sunglasses. Looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. I kept one of Tyler's journals, he said, sliding a folder across the table. It's bad. I opened it. Inside were 6 pages. All in Tyler's handwriting. All about me. About the baby. About the night I came home from the hospital. About fixing things. About killing me. I went to the police again. This time, they took it seriously. The restraining order was approved in less than 24 hours. They told me Tyler had been in Jacksonville for 2 weeks. He'd quit his job. Told friends he was starting over. The journal said otherwise. It said he couldn't let her erase me. It said, she doesn't get to walk away like I'm nothing. It said he was planning something final. I moved again. The nonprofit paid for a private security team for a week while I got set up in a new rental house, under a different name. I kept working remotely. I changed my routines. I stopped going to the grocery store alone. But I didn't stop planning. Because now I knew what I had to do. Tyler didn't need to disappear. He needed to be exposed. Completely. I started with a journal. I made copies. One to the police. One to a lawyer. One I scanned and sent to Kayla, and one I sent anonymously to every person in his old office. Including HR. Then I went further. I hired a private investigator. It cost more than I liked. But it worked. They found 2 more exes. One in Orlando. One in Alabama. Both had their own stories. Both had scars, emotional, physical. Both had been scared into silence. I convinced them to speak up. I gathered every piece. Every thread. Every lie. Every report. Then I made it public. I started a blog under an anonymous name. It went viral fast. Local reporters picked it up. Then national. Florida man accused of stalking ex-wife and multiple former partners. People found him. His new job? Gone in days. Online? Flooded with comments. He tried to threaten me by text. I sent everyone to the police. He tried to send letters to my new house. They never made it. My mail was flagged. He tried to find me at work. But I wasn't there. I was waiting. For the final crack. 3 weeks after the blog exploded, I got a call from a number in Tallahassee. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. Is this Morgan? It was a woman's voice. Shaky. Older. Yes, I said slowly. This is Elaine. I'm Tyler's mom. I didn't speak. She continued. I didn't know how bad it was. I didn't know what my son had become. I let the silence stretch. She sighed. They all protected him. Ron especially. Always made excuses. Always covered his tracks. And I went along with it. I told myself boys act out. That it wasn't serious. That he'd grow out of it. Still, I didn't say a word. I saw the blog. I read every word. I'm sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me. But I wanted you to know, he's in a facility now. I finally found my voice. A hospital? No. A psych hold. Baker Act. He was found walking barefoot on the highway. Talking to himself. Kept saying someone was erasing him. He was convinced he needed to finish the job. A lump rose in my throat. I swallowed it down. He's not stable, she added. Hasn't been for a long time. I didn't know what to say. I felt nothing. No joy. No relief. Just empty. Elaine didn't cry. But her voice cracked when she said, I lost him. I know that now. But I know you lost more. I hung up. The weeks after that felt strange. Quiet. Like a fog had finally lifted and I wasn't sure what the world looked like without it. Brooke tried to reach out. Sent a long message on Facebook. Apologies. Excuses. We were grieving too. I didn't know how to support you. I wish I could take it back. I didn't respond. Ron's real estate license was revoked. He tried to appeal, but the state made an example out of him. He lost his pension. His reputation. Last I heard, he moved in with his sister outside of Tampa. Alone. Brooke lost custody. Her ex filed after the daycare was shut down. Claimed neglect. The court agreed. She sees her son twice a month now, supervised. As for Tyler, I didn't follow what happened next. I heard whispers, long-term care, suicide watch, a few attempts at outpatient recovery. One article said he refused medication. Another claimed he blamed a shadow version of his ex-wife for everything. I stopped checking after that. I moved again. Not out of fear, but out of peace. I bought a small house in Fernandina Beach. I got a dog. Her name is Penny, and she sleeps by my feet every night. I still work at the Grief Center, just remotely now. We started a new program for mothers who've experienced violence after pregnancy loss. It's not big, but it's real. Some nights I still think of my son. Some nights I think of that night I came home from the hospital and no one looked at me like I mattered. No one offered a seat. No one made space. They buried me before I was even gone. But I crawled out. I rebuilt. And I made sure they would never forget what it felt like to be on the other side. Alone. Exposed. Broken. Just like they left me. Only this time I didn't cry. I watched them unravel. One by one.